on this Monday evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and we plan to have Coach Chandra Macklin joining us in just a little bit. I'm Seth Wilkerson with Viking News on Demand. Colin Streeter is unable to be in the house tonight, and so we are waiting on – he was going to send me possibly some video over. So I'm waiting to see if he sends that. If he does, I will play that here, at least get the audio of the video on for you. He was going to give kind of a recap, and he had something just last minute that came up. And so we understand that. Also, Coach Ronald Abernathy is going to be joining us as well in a little while. So why don't you drop in the comments where you're watching from on this Monday evening. It is the Monday OT, and there is Michael Butler saying he is from Humboldt. Yes, Mr. Michael Butler checking in with us tonight. So good to have you joining us. Want to open the program and say thank you to all of our sponsors, Baskerville Funeral Home, Bradley Owens, attorney at law, Haver Design and Marketing, the Humboldt Chronicle, Humboldt High School class of 93, the Humboldt Lions Club, the Humboldt Viking Booster Club, Reinhausen Manufacturers, and Tyson Foods. That is our sponsors of Viking News on Demand, and we appreciate you joining us on this Monday night, and we're going to talk Viking sports. Disappointing end of the season for both our boys and girls in athletics on the basketball court, but we are now going to talk to them and recap the season. And so we have Coach Chandra Macklin joining us anytime here now. And then Coach Ronald Abernathy will be calling in at 7:20 this evening. So, again, thank you so much for joining. And there is Ted Martin, says he is watching in big old Nashville. And I've been keeping up with Mr. Ted. He had quite a day a few days ago, maybe it was today, where they had to dig up a sidewalk to dig up a sidewalk. Somebody say they can't comment on the live stream. A few people are, but I see Christopher Stewart sending us a message and saying he is watching as well, and he's watching right here in Humboldt. Welcome back home, Mr. Chris. Yeah, so good to have you joining us on this Monday evening. And so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if I can't just get a hold of Coach Macklin. She may have been expecting me to call her, so we'll do that and get her on the line with us. Hopefully she'll be able to join us, and we will talk to her about the Lady Vikings and their season that they just ended just a few weeks ago, and kind of get her recap of this past year. Thank you so much for joining us on Viking News on Demand. We are your home for Humboldt Viking News. All right, we got Miss Chandra Macklin on the line with us. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for taking time out for us. I know your season has been over for a little bit over a week, and we should have had you on before now, but I appreciate you taking time on this Monday night to talk to us here on Viking News on Demand.
Well, anytime.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I know your season ended up in Halls, Tennessee, and why don't you first off just recap that last game, because Mr. George Yarborough said there was a lot of things that he saw in that game that just showed him the growth and the persistence of these young ladies that they've learned throughout the season.
I know one of the things, we were definitely in position to compete well that last game. We made necessary adjustments in practice.
Sure.
We implemented a press. We ran skills and, made adjustments within our offense and defense that was necessary to keep us in a position to actually compete. Mm-hmm. We attacked the rim. We got to the free throw line and actually shot more free throws that final game than we have all year.
Okay.
One of the things that hurt us is that we did knock down shots when we needed to make shots.
Okay.
We got some really good stops, especially in the beginning, but we weren't able to capitalize on it by scoring underneath the basket, and so that hurt us. But overall, we were still happy with how we were able to, do the things that we set out to do and that we practiced.
Sure.
The execution wasn't quite there. And so those are things, with a young team, you just, go after it again next year. And we know where we need to start. And definitely that's with becoming more consistent from the free throw line, being able to step up and make shots from the line when we really need to, but also being able to score, whether it's in transition, whether it's off of a trap, being able to attack and finish at the rim. And those are things that, in time you get better at.
Sure.
And you get in the gym during the off season and you hammer at it until you're more efficient.
One of the things that I noticed in the last few games that I called for the Lady Vikings, your defense had come a long way since game number 1.
It has, and it's one of those things. At the beginning of the season, COVID kind of took us out of rotation for a couple of weeks in the very beginning, so we weren't able to really go through team offense, team defense because we were in quarantine. And so we literally had to teach as the season went along. And so from the beginning to the end, definitely we made improvements in all of the ways that, we know a team improves as the season goes on.
Sure.
But we were kind of, behind the 8 ball from the very beginning by getting a delayed start. But I'm so proud of, the growth that we saw from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, the maturity of our players from the beginning to the end, and even having those middle schoolers to step up and extend their season by competing with us definitely helped to put us in a position to where, like I said, we can compete, and it gave us a different look going into postseason.
Sure, definitely. Well, speaking of COVID, our numbers grew, which I think some of that was with the junior high girls season ending. But that's where we started seeing maybe a little bit more success as well on the court when you started having a few more numbers, and we know COVID played into that. And then also, how much did the numbers coming down as far as positive cases help you get girls to get on the court as well?
Well, I know definitely anytime you have the opportunity to have additional bodies, it's always going to help. It gives you more kids to put into the rotation so that you can sub more.
Sure.
So that when players get a little bit more exhausted, they get a chance to get a break. And definitely when, towards the end when we started to press, we were able to press like we wanted to because we had, fresh legs that we could kind of throw at teams.
Yes.
But, those are all everything that we experienced. We really caught the full strength of the COVID effect on a basketball team. And so, our biggest goal for next year is definitely making sure that all of the things that we were not able to do as a program, definitely, going to camps this summer, making sure that we get individual workouts in, and once the dead period is up, making sure that girls are back in the gym as early as possible to ensure that physically we're where we need to be, but then, too, that we're doing the necessary work to make sure that they learn basketball, that they understand their position, that they understand the game, and, why we run, a 3-2, or why our offense runs the way that it runs, and then definitely encouraging more of our players to be offensive threats, because you can't beat anybody if nobody wants to take the shot in order to score points.
So true. So true. And we saw that happening early in the season. Kids scared to shoot the ball. Not really scared to shoot the ball, but just didn't have the confidence it was going to go in. You could just tell by the body language they didn't expect it to go in. And it was because of lack of experience. We knew that going into this year, as last year we lost a lot of experience and confidence in starters off that team. Now, that leads me to my next question, Coach Mack, and that is, you didn't have just a whole lot of seniors on this team. Who were the seniors on the Lady Vikings this year?
We only had one senior this year, and that was Jakaya Jefferson. Okay. And this was her first year playing. And so we definitely were excited from the beginning to the end of how she transformed as a player, her confidence level, and even her leadership from the beginning of the season to the end. So much so to a point that she was selected to the all-tournament team.
Wonderful.
And so we're excited about that because it goes right along with if you commit fully to everything that we're asking you to do from the beginning, progress is going to show, and then coaches are going to recognize that. And so we're excited for that.
Awesome.
Skill-wise, she developed as the season went on. but, definitely we loved the energy that she brought. She definitely wasn't afraid to put her body on the line, and we got a lot of jump calls and just the hustle and the tenacity that she brought to the table and rebounding, And so that's a lot to get out of a player that's never played the game before and still didn't quite understand a lot of things, but she just gave us the best that she had, and that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, well, something special. You mentioned this year. We've talked a lot about how that COVID affected the regular season, but you mentioned something a while ago that I kind of caught. It really hampered the off season as well, didn't it? It kept you from being able to do what you wanted to do in the off season.
It did, because looking at the calendar, it was around this time last year that things kind of shut down, and for us, this is the time of the year that we start our groups of 3 triad training, where we get 3 girls to come in at a time to work on individual skill development. And then certain rotations. We always have a guard and 2 posts, or 2 guards and 1 post. Yeah. And so that kind of helps us feed into what we do on the offensive end and what we do on the defensive end. But we can get individualized instruction, but also working with a cluster of teammates to improve. And then from there, we transition into our summer season, where we practice full-time, and then we go to summer camp.
Yeah.
And typically, we go to UT Martin, we go to Bethel, and a couple of other camps to make sure that we get up and down the court. We play against teams that are outside of our district, give us a chance to see competition in other parts of our area that we may potentially see in the regional tournament during the season. And then as the summer goes in and you go into the dead period and come out of that dead period, that's when we would typically pick back up with basketball, just open gym, running the floor. And that's during that time where if they didn't play travel ball, they get a chance to just run the floor and understand how to run the lane, how to fill in certain areas, how to move in transition.
Yeah.
And then definitely it gives them time to, physically get the weight training in.
Yeah.
As we go through volleyball season with the volleyball players. So.
And last year
those are
there
all
was no travel ball at all.
None whatsoever. And so that impacted us as well, because they would typically get that experience. The last couple of years, we've had 4 or 5 players playing travel ball during the summers, and we benefited from that, as a team once our season started. So we didn't have that this year.
Yeah.
And so we were definitely, when you're looking at the fact that you have a team full of freshmen and sophomores, you need that.
Yeah.
And
definitely so. Well, let me ask you this. I know, obviously, you hear chatter, school's still in session. Are there quite a few girls saying they want to play travel ball this coming year?
Right now, we have actually a couple of them that are, excited about being able to play.
Yeah.
And we've talked to a couple of local coaches and who are interested in a couple of our players and playing. And so it's, I'm definitely going to encourage them to play wherever they can.
And how does that work, Coach Mack? Maybe you can tell us that. How does that work? How does a girl get on a travel team? Does a coach have to recruit them?
In some cases, if teams have like an open tryout, then all that player has to do is just go to the tryout.
Interesting.
I know there's several teams locally, and then a lot of times those coaches of travel league teams will reach out to our coaching staff and ask if we have any players that may be interested. And so we just exchange contact information. And so a lot of it is left up to families. If they choose for their children to participate in travel ball, then they pretty much take it from there after we make the introduction.
Now, I know you'll probably have to be careful how you answer this, but, you're coaching in a culture where they're used to a lot of wins in the basketball arenas, okay? So how hard is that on a coach to coach with that much pressure? And, because this season was tough. It was difficult for the girls. It was difficult on you as a coach. How do you stay focused and not listen to the chatter?
Well, the biggest thing for me is, this is year 6 for me.
Yes.
And so when I came in behind a season where there were only 2 wins, and then the season before that there weren't any wins.
Yeah.
And so I walked into a program that, for a number of years,
yes,
kind of struggled to put wins on the board. And in that first year, we went 7-20, and in some ways it was a disappointment, but it was a better season than had happened in the 3 previous seasons.
Sure.
And so from there, we just built.
Yeah.
I looked at what were the highlights, what are the low moments, what can we improve on. And so every year I'm always reflective of what went well, what didn't, and what do we have to do to move forward. And so it's the same thing with this year. Definitely not the season that I expected.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of players that I was playing with that I wasn't expecting to be playing with, and players that I expected to be playing with that, weren't here.
That's right.
And so just like from year one, you play with who shows up and you do the best that you can. And so we've done that every year, whether we have, wide range support, whether we win, double-digit games or whether we don't. Our primary focus is always making sure that we give the best that we have to the athletes that we have.
Yeah.
We encourage them to be good students. We encourage them to be good, upstanding community members, and that we encourage them to be the best athletes that they can be. And definitely we graduate our kids out of our program and we send them to some sort of post-secondary experience. And for that, I will always be proud of them.
Thank you so much, Coach Mack. I know you have always won or lost graciously. I know you don't enjoy losing, but you've always been good to come on either where it was a win or a loss. It didn't matter. I knew I could always count on you if you could work it out. And we always appreciate any time you want to come on Viking News on Demand. The door is always open. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much.
All right. God bless. That is Coach Chandra Macklin on the phone with us right there. And coming up next will be Coach Ronald Abernathy to talk about the boys' season. Also, a disappointing end on the boys' side of things with the court and the disappointing loss in Union City just a week or so ago. And he will be contacting us right in just a few moments. We told him to call in at 7:20. And so we'll see what happens there. Going back here to some of these comments on social media, there was a comment talking about how Humboldt obeyed the rules. And, that is something that you always have to be appreciative of, to be a part of an upstanding program that says it doesn't matter what anybody else is going to do. Always you're going to have those people that will try to push the envelope a little bit. They're going to try to ride that line or get into that gray area. But that's one of the things that I have to say about Mr. George Yarbrough and this athletic program. If anything, we go to the other side of things and we say we're going to be a little more careful even than what they're asking us to be. And I think because of that, you have seen minimal amounts of cases of COVID, and this year, I'm sorry, I had my ringer on apparently, but minimal amounts of even disciplinary actions that had to take place, both in the football but also basketball this year as well. We are joined right now by Coach Ronald Abernathy, Humboldt Viking boys head coach. Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
I'm good evening, sir. And what about you?
Well, I am doing good. I am wishing that I was on my way to Murfreesboro, and I'm pretty sure you're in the same boat.
Yes, sir. I wish I was also.
Yes, sir. Well, obviously disappointing loss in Union City. Let's talk about that game first, and then we'll talk the season as a whole, if that's all right.
Okay.
First off, you headed up to Union City, and, man, that is a tough place to play ball. Why don't you talk about that atmosphere and that student section?
It was a crazy atmosphere, and of course I thought we prepared well.
Yes, sir.
We had a great plan, a great game plan. We prepared well, and we went in to play there, and it was a tough night. I think they hit everything they threw up, and a testament was later on, everyone told us that when they played against Madison the next night, that they didn't hit anything.
No.
And, that was one of those nights and one of those times. But, it wasn't a task that we couldn't accomplish because if you remember, we went in, 3 years ago?
Yes.
We went there 3 years ago and was the number 4 seed, and they were number 1. And I think it was like a 20-point game.
Yeah.
So it's just how the chip fall. And that's why they call it a game.
That's right. And that's why they play every game. Anything can happen. And, You know, this team, you had your ups and downs, but they would always try to battle through. I think about even that Madison game, it was the third Madison game, where we went into halftime with a lead, and then it felt like just a complete different team in the second half. And, yes, maybe you had some calls that could have went the other way, but you never want to be in that place where it costs you a game. And I don't know that it ever really did. It just kind of felt like maybe some points in the season, it was a lot of learning moments this year.
Well, and Seth, it was a lot of learning. A lot of learning lessons. A lot of times, for example, the Madison game, we had a great game plan again.
Yeah.
And we executed it the first half correctly. And then we came out the second half and just didn't follow the game plan at all. And, it was kind of funny. I heard a lot of comments about why did we change the game plan? Well, we never changed the game plan. We just didn't come out and execute what we did. That first half was all the preparation and the game plan that we had been using during the week. And we came out the first half and we executed that. And then the second half, we just did not execute and do what we did the first half. And, of course, we were disappointed. But like I said, I heard a lot of conversation about why did we change the game plan. But, Lord, I wish, but we didn't change the game plan. We just came out and we did not execute like we did the first half.
One name, Walter Peggs. That young man is a baller now.
Yes.
What a privilege it was to be able to watch him 3 times, up close. And I got a feeling we're going to be hearing that name for a little while. What stands out to you? And I know you probably don't do a whole lot of comment on other people's players, but what's some characteristics of Mr. Peggs that stood out to you when you coached against him?
Oh, tough.
Okay.
Tough, smart. Relentless, didn't quit, kept after it, as well as, Christian Ballard.
Yes.
And Christian Ballard did the same thing. And then Drew Mayo, the kid who shot well.
Yes.
They tough, they smart, and they were veterans.
Yes.
And they played that way. And, of course, again, a lot of people don't know that, but Christian Ballard and Drew Mayo are out of my camp. They played for me from the 4th grade all the way through the 8th grade at St. Mary, along with RJ.
Okay.
Yeah, and, they're tough.
Yeah.
They're smart, resilient, and, of course, things have been going their way this year. They've had a great year, and my hat's off to them, and, and they've done a great job, but that Walter Peggs is a player, and of course he's I'm quite sure he'll probably win the Mr. Basketball Award, and he well deserves it.
I would be surprised if he doesn't. And y'all did a great job, as you said, in that first half of that third game. We held him to 5 points in that first half.
Don't remind me, because the game plan we worked on all week worked perfectly in the first half. Yes. And then, I don't know if you remember now, we actually had Jason Hunt guarding him.
Yes.
And then in the second half, we had to switch off, and the defense wasn't as tight as we did in the first half. And again, just didn't follow the game plan completely like we had set it up.
Back when, and I'm going to bring up some memories here, I'm sure, when RJ played for you, you had Anthony Jones and Trey Ward and all those players. They were in the gym early in the mornings a lot of times. I would talk to teachers, and they would say, Seth, you don't get to that status on a Friday night or a Tuesday night without the effort that these kids are playing. Are you seeing, and I'm not asking you to name names, I don't expect you to do that, but are you seeing that same thing, or was that just a special group of kids that came through at that point?
Well, that first group was the 16-17 team.
Yes.
With Jared Walker and Cortland Martin and those 5 kids who are currently going to graduate in May. That work ethic started with them.
Okay.
And then RJ, Anthony Jones, Trey Ward, Trent Green carried it to another level.
Okay.
And like you were saying, those kids sometimes early in the morning when it first started, it'd be about 5:30, and I'd hear it rattling upstairs at my house. And I was like, RJ, what is all the noise? Oh, Dad, we're going to get up some shots. And, and say if they consistently went early in the morning at 6, got up shots. That same group went on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
That same group went on Sunday afternoon. And, and of course, my hat's off to them. And, they did do a lot extra, because you cannot be good by just playing in practice.
That's right.
And, of course, the one negative thing about our current team is we just didn't have any kids to do that.
Yeah.
And, of course, prior to that, they did. And like I said, anybody knows, or anybody that's played the game. And, of course, I've coached some great players.
Sure.
When you talk about Shaquille O'Neal, and you talk about Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, and you talk about those guys, that's what they did. It wasn't just practice time. It was before practice. It was after practice. It was on Saturdays. It was on Sundays. And, of course, it parlayed to success on the court. And in this day and time, you just can't come to practice and be an elite player.
Sure. And, I didn't mean to ask that question to put you on the spot, but at the same time, I know I've heard those things talked about other teams, and I wondered, because I think that plays into some of the inconsistencies maybe that we saw throughout the year. And the good thing is, I know you're losing a few players. You've got some seniors that you lose this year, but you had some young guys that got some key moments this last year that you should be able to build upon.
Oh, we did. Brandon Randolph.
Yes.
Pirtle particularly.
Oh.
Tyson Pirtle. Got some great minutes. Looking forward to him coming back. Looking forward to having some size for the first time since I've been there.
Yeah.
Because, we have Stephon Shivers coming up, who's a mountain.
Yeah.
Who's a mountain and should contribute as a freshman.
Yeah.
Along with Brandon and along with, Pirtle. And, of course, I think we're going to have some great guards. The twins, the Johnson twins are seasoned. They're competitive. They're leaders. They'll be back. And, of course, Jason Hunt, hopefully he'll be back. And so we'll have some solid players back.
Yeah.
And actually look forward to that.
And there's some other coaches, they're licking their chops, ready to get their hands on your players for other games. I know there's baseball and football still to come, but
yes.
How early do you get them back to start working on basketball again?
Well, we actually get them back, actually for the second year, we've had quite a few of them play football.
Okay.
So they'll go to football like pretty soon.
Okay.
And we'll get them back for mid-May.
Yeah.
Around May 16th. And then from May 16th through about mid-May, it's open gym, and we'll work on seeing who's going to make the team.
Yeah.
And then that last week of May, we have that last week which we can practice. And then following that, we'll go to 3 straight weeks of team camp. Hopefully, and then that prepares us for the fall.
Yeah.
And we lose them, and of course, those players that are not playing football will go to weightlifting and conditioning around July 6th or 7th.
Okay.
And we'll do that all the way to November.
Now, we talked about this with Coach Macklin. Obviously, we have now reached the 1-year anniversary of COVID-19, and I know that affected not just the season, but your off-season as well. And that probably played into some of the inconsistencies as well. What kind of challenges did COVID-19 bring to your off-season last year?
Well, a lot, because if one of the biggest challenges, we lost 6 games.
Yeah.
We lost 6 games that we were not we lost the tournament at Christmas time.
Yeah.
We lost the game with Sacred Heart, lost game with Chester County. So we lost 6 games that we were not able to recover.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's big because we didn't get a chance to play at Christmas. And, we were COVIDed twice.
Yeah.
And so, that kind of messes with your rhythm a little bit. But I thought we were able to, we got back, because, we lift weights and we condition pretty heavy.
Sure.
And we kind of got back, to it was, I think ours was more mental and more heart than it was being laid off from COVID, but certainly the COVID situations and circumstances presented an awesome challenge this year. But we overcome it. We were able to finish 16-6, I believe, and still had a great year.
Yes, sir, and I'm glad you yourself were able to stay healthy, and a lot of the coaching staff and players were as well. Obviously, y'all were in our thoughts and prayers as this stuff started going around, and every time we would hear that y'all were having to quarantine, we were holding our breath, hoping that it wouldn't strike too close to home here. And but we're glad that we were able to get through this season. And I'll tell you what, Coach, I'm just glad they're actually able to have a tournament in Murfreesboro this year. That stunk to high heaven last year, not being able to really be able to crown a basketball champion.
Oh, yeah. I agree with that. The only regret I have is that we are not there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Coach, you're always welcome on here. I know you mentioned some of your players going to start working on football. I'm sure you've already had some conversations with Coach Pettigrew. What's your thoughts here as your football season is going to be coming up? You think Coach Pettigrew is going to do a great job this year?
Yeah, I think he will. He's already focused. He's already focused. He's already tuned in.
Yes.
We've had great conversations. And, like I said, quite a few of my basketball players play football.
Yes.
So some of them will this year, especially the younger kids, and they'll be playing. So, I think he'll do well. He seems to be focused. To the point.
Yeah.
And again, I think they'll do well.
Good. And I know that's very key for you guys to have good relationships because when you're swapping players back and forth in the size school that we got, you really can't help it,
Yeah, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it because I know again people think they know about me a lot, but they don't. But I don't know if people knew that I coached football in Florida when I coached basketball.
Really?
Yes, I coach receivers in Florida.
Oh, now I'm learning something.
Yeah, a lot of times people are like, well, the football players and the basketball. No, yeah, I coached wide receivers in Florida. I was position coach. Yeah, large high school.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man. That's incredible. We'll have to have that conversation another time. That's interesting.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, man, you come up to a football game, just come up to the top and talk to us. We'd love to have you on, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Thank you so much for taking time for us. I know you are enjoying a little bit of rest here. I know you'd rather be in Murfreesboro, but I appreciate you recapping the season with us tonight.
All right, Seth, I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. That's Coach Ronald Abernathy, head basketball coach for the boys. We're going to come back and wrap things up here in just one moment. You're watching Viking News on Demand. Don't go anywhere.
During the Great Depression, nothing came easy, but with just 5 cents, an old truck, and a load of hay, John Tyson and his family found a way to deliver quality chicken to other hardworking people. Today, Tyson continues to find new ways to help put a chicken in every pot, because people deserve farm-raised chicken of the highest quality. At Tyson, we remain committed to this simple promise: to always keep it real, to always keep it Tyson.
We'd like to remind folks that Humboldt only has one local history source published each week, the Humboldt Chronicle. Local government and education issues, crime and justice, people you know in the news, sports, features, and more each week at your fingertips in the print edition or online. Stop by their office at 2606 East End Drive, Humboldt, or give them a call at 731-784-2531. The Humboldt Chronicle. Nobody covers Humboldt like the Chronicle.
Family and friends make life worth living. That's why at Baskerville Funeral Home, we celebrate family and friends every day. I am Chancellor Baskerville. My family is here for your family in times of need. Folks, yesterday is gone, today is almost over, and tomorrow isn't promised. So when your family and friends take their last breath, the world stops for you and us. We are available 24 hours a day. We use the latest technology along with good old-fashioned family values, common sense, and compassion. Chester, Donald, or myself are here for you and your family in your time of need. We are Baskerville Funeral Home, Directors of Distinction.
Hi, I'm Chester of Baskerville Funeral Home. We really do love the families we serve in West Tennessee, and it's an honor and privilege to take care of your loved ones. At Baskerville Funeral Home, we're committed to caring and sincere service. And again, thank you.
Do you want to know the worst thing about Mondays? No sports! Well, we fixed that. Join Colin and Seth every Monday for the Monday OT at 7 p.m.
Hey Vikings fans, this is Ted Martin, former Humboldt Vikings quarterback and class of '93 graduate. When me and my fellow classmates want to follow Viking sports, we watch Viking News on Demand. In addition to live streaming of games, there are also plenty of specialty shows that keep us all involved in our alma mater. On behalf of the class of 1993, go Vikings!
This is Bradley Owens of Hardy Martin & Owens Law Firm. At Hardy Martin & Owens, we handle personal injury cases, criminal defense, divorce and family law, and wills and estates. With offices in Jackson, Trenton, and now in Milan, we are conveniently located to serve all your legal needs. Call us today at 424-2151 or on my cell, 234-2400. That's 234-2400.
Tipping the scales in your favor.
Everybody, you're watching Viking News on Demand, and we have just had Coach Chandra Macklin on with us. We also just had Coach Ronald Abernathy on as well. So thank you so much for joining us on this Monday evening. We don't have a whole lot left to cover tonight, but we will go through a little bit of baseball news for you, and that is their season is going to open up on March the 16th, and it will be at Brewston. They're going to open their season up March the 16th at Brewston. We do not plan to cover that game. However, we are trying to get in to cover the Thursday night, March 18th game against Greenfield. It will be at 5 o'clock. It's going to be over at the ballpark in Jackson where the West Tennessee Diamond Jacks used to play, Jackson Generals, all of that. We're going to see if we can get in there and bring you video coverage of that baseball game that night. Also, we are going to cover the Friday night home game, March 19th, against Gleason at 5 o'clock. We will not be traveling this year with the baseball team, but we plan to cover all of the home games. The only really away game we're going to have is at the ballpark in Jackson. Tuesday, April the 6th, that will be another game that we will cover, and it will be a home game versus Madison at 4 o'clock on that Tuesday afternoon. And then we will have a Thursday game, April 15th. That will be at home versus South Fulton at 5. A Friday night home game, April 16th. That is Fayette Ware coming to town at 6 o'clock. We will also cover Tuesday night, April the 20th, when Trenton makes its way over here to Berryland and plays your Humboldt Vikings at 4:30. And then we will cover the Tuesday night, April 27th game, where Liberty will come to town and play at 5 o'clock. Now, we are still waiting on Mr. George Yarbrough and the fine folks in Humboldt City Schools to get us a softball schedule, and I hope now, folks, I think we're going to have it now. I believe we're going to have it coming up in Thursday's show. We also are going to be covering the school board meeting on Thursday night as well. That is coming up. Let me just kind of mention that to you as well before we get out of here tonight. I know this is a sports show, and I'll tell you what, I'm not going to do that. I will cover that on our Thursday show. Also, if you want more information on that, obviously you can reach out to us, and we will get that for you. Thank you for tuning in to Viking News on Demand tonight. If you missed the interviews with Coach Macklin, Coach Ronald Abernathy, make sure that you go back and watch the replay of this show tonight. It's 7:40. I don't have Colin Streeter tonight, so I'm running out of gas here, okay? I don't have a whole lot to say. Been interviewing here for almost 40 minutes and carrying this show. He had something come up last minute. He was going to email me something, but I'm looking here, and I don't see an email. So he must not have had a chance to do that. That's okay. Let's give all of our sponsors a big shout-out right now. Tyson Foods, Reinhausen Manufacturers, Humboldt Viking Booster Club, the Humboldt Lions Club, High School Class of 93, the Humboldt Chronicle. We are powered by Haver Design and Marketing. We also want to say a great big thank you to Bradley Owens, attorney at law, and the Baskerville Funeral Home. Shout out to Trenton Peabody Golden Tide and also the Gibson County Pioneers. Good luck as they face off against their foes in Murfreesboro. That's right. They're going to be playing against some folks up in Murfreesboro. For Viking News on Demand, I'm Seth Wilkerson. Thank you so much for watching tonight, folks. Sharing is caring. If you did not share this video, there is no better time than right now. Hit that share button and let folks know that this is the place that they need to be to keep up with Viking news. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, folks. Hope you have a great rest of your Monday. Have a great week. We will be back on Thursday. We'll be back on Thursday with the Viking News School Show with George Arbrough, and we'll talk a little more baseball then and give you a little highlight of some school news as well. Thanks for listening.